Thank you for staying with us. You're welcome back. It is time to go to the focus of today. The Central Bank of Nigeria initiated an obnoxious policy which requires bank customers, to submit their social media handles for identification. It also requested that banking institutions get customers' email addresses, phone numbers, and residential addresses, as if banks do not have all these details through their KYCs. It justified the demand by tagging it Central Bank of Nigeria Customer Due Diligence Regulation 2023, which it said is a due diligence measure to check money laundering and terrorism financing. To have this conversation with us this morning is Mr. Matthew Oluku. Good morning, sir. You're welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
This data issue, it has been raising a lot of dust. Reactions have also continued to trail it. A lot of times when you open a bank account in Nigeria, you give out these informations. It's like basic, even though the social media handles aren't so necessary. In the past, I don't know about now that we're about to have this implemented. But then we have a lot of data issues, data challenges in Nigeria. And how has the data submitted so far to the CBN been utilized? I mean, the basic data that you would give regularly if you are going to do any dealings with the banking sector in Nigeria, and now asking for extra, which is social media handles. How do you react to this development?
Personally, once again, thank you for having me. Personally, I think it is political. I strongly feel it's political because, for me, I think the information at the disposal of the banks are sufficient for their operational purposes. Because even after the introduction of BVN, I think it is extremely difficult for you to operate double account without the bank. In fact, it's not possible without the banking system knowing that you are the one operating all the multiple accounts. And again, I think we should draw the line between how we want to play politics and how we want to do governance. Because you cannot tell me that you are asking banks for the purpose of due diligence, know your customer, KYC, that they should start collecting social media handle of customers. I've seen Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SIRAP threatening to drag joint issue with CBN and the government in court. I think they are in the right direction. Because for me, if the government itself is using the social media to dish out information to the public, for me, I don't see any reason they should try to use the government policies to hound or to gag Nigerians in assessing or in trying to limit their freedom of expression and all that.
We saw what happened in the period of SARS, the end-SARS era, where persons were picked up by State Security Service, and of course, the CBN also took a lead from that by, freezing some certain person's account. I mean, their bank account. Are we likely to see something of that nature happening in another dimension where individuals now, as you said, will be gagged?
And the issue is clear that you have your freedom of expression, that you have access to social media, does not mean you are not culpable when you infringe on people's rights. And we have seen cases where people have been dragged to court on the basis of what they post on social media. So I think they should allow security agencies concentrate and do their job. And Nigerians, even as you go on social media, you should realize that if you run foul of the constitution, you can be tried in the court. But for me, trying to ask the banks to collect social media handle of customers is a way of trying to intimidate Nigerians. It's a way of trying to deter them from expressing their views on social media.
Because why I'm asking this is, what is the relevance of one social media handle when every valid information about the customer, including their address, guarantors, and what have been gotten?
Of course, just like you said, before you open an account, the bank will ask for your address, utility bill. In fact, the only reason one can speculate as to why they want the social media handle is to get at Nigerians who they may not be comfortable with the information they dish out through the social media platforms. So that is the only thing I can fathom out of it.
And that also leads to the question of how, what's the word I'm looking for? How feasible is it? Because part of the reasons given is due diligence regulations, which is a measure to check money laundering and terrorism financing. And I ask that question because if you want to follow people up via social media, you know that people have pseudo accounts. People open several accounts that are not verified. In fact, even Instagram do not take people seriously until your account is verified, so that people know that, okay, this is the real account of this person. Do you get where I'm going to with this? So if you're going to judge me or follow me up by an account that I can just open in the blink of an eye and I feed you the one that I want, do you understand? So how does that make for accountability check if that is the reason that they are giving?
No, I think on the surface, they perhaps do not think that people start reading into it. Because we are sensing political undertone. They didn't come out to say it has to do with any political reason. But again, I think if you look at, let me use Twitter, YouTube for instance. Once you have a Gmail, that Gmail is as good as your YouTube account. You only need to do some editing through your channel and all that. So, and in most cases, the banks already have the email of most Nigerians, because when the customer gave out those emails, they were not thinking that the government would at any point in time want to use it to get at Nigerians. What I'm saying is speculative, because that's the only reason I can adduce as a person as to the reason the banks or CBN may want to direct banks to start collecting social media account handles of Nigerians or their customers. Because just like you rightly said, the banks already have sufficient information about their customers. So the only purpose I can fathom as to the reason they may be trying to get the social media account of Nigerians is to gag Nigerians.